President Biden, a Catholic who supports abortion, to keep receiving communion in spite of the hot and raging debate that's going on in the United States and beyond about Catholics, pro abortion Catholics, who are publicly supporting abortion, the murder of children in the womb. Should those pro abortion politicians continue to receive communion? According to this article at the Associated Press, Biden says the Pope told him he's supposed to keep, or he should keep, receiving communion. I want to read the story to you. It's breaking news. It's out just in the last hour. So we're going to go ahead and dive into this. This is a special live broadcast I'm sharing with you on a Friday afternoon when I should be sleeping because I'm up at 3 a.m. 5 days a week for Catholic Drive Time. But because this is a breaking story, I wanted to share this with you. So let's dive into this. The Associated Press is reporting, and the headline again goes, Biden says, Pope told me that I should keep receiving communion. Here's a little bit of the article. Quote, face-to-face at the Vatican, President Joe Biden held extended and highly personal talks with Pope Francis on Friday and came away saying that the pontiff told him he was, quote, a good Catholic, unquote, and should keep receiving communion, although conservatives have called for him to be denied the sacrament because of his support for abortion rights. The world's two most prominent Roman Catholics ran over time in their discussions on climate change, poverty, and coronavirus pandemic. A warm conversation that also touched on the loss of President's adult son and included jokes and aging well. Biden said abortion did not come up in the meeting. Quote, we just talked about the fact that he was happy that I was a good Catholic and I should keep receiving communion, unquote, Biden said. So the Pope tells him he's supposed to keep receiving communion, but abortion doesn't come up, as if nobody knows that there's this giant debate that is going on. I mean, bishops are coming out as a result of this and saying that we should do acts of reparation as a result of this very incident, this conversation that just happened between His Holiness Pope Francis and President Joe Biden. And what are we supposed to believe in all of this, Your Holiness? Of course, the abortion was coming up. Maybe you didn't say the word. I don't know. But to say he's a good Catholic and should keep receiving communion is a pretty specific sentence. The article goes on to say, the president's support for abortion rights and same-sex marriage has put him at odds with many U.S. bishops, some of whom have suggested their annual fall conference in mid-November and will find themselves debating a possible rebuke of U.S. president just weeks after their boss spent so much time with Biden that all their subsequent meetings were thrown off by an hour. Can you imagine? I'm going to be in Baltimore right outside of this meeting in November. I'm speaking at the Men's March there, the Men's March to End Abortion. And hopefully, prayerfully, there'll be the church militant rally right in front of this building. I'm staying at a hotel right next to it, and it's going to be very fascinating. It's a debate that is definitely raging within the church. I mean, think about this schism. I mean, we talk about schism on the horizon. I think schism is here. I mean, look at the debate just between mandates, let alone abortion and traditionalism and everything else. And His Holiness, the Vicar of Christ on Earth, the Pope, is supposedly, allegedly telling the president, who is ardently supportive of abortion and same-sex marriage, that it's okay, that you're a good Catholic and you should continue to receive. I mean, that is so utterly scandalous. It literally blows my mind to think about it. The article goes on to say, video released by the Vatican showed several warm, relaxed moments between Francis and Biden as they repeatedly shook hands and smiled. Francis often sports a dour look, especially in official photos, but he seemed in good spirits on Friday. Oh, my heavens. Oh, of course. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, good grief. The private meeting lasted about 75 minutes, according to the Vatican, more than double the normal length of an audience with the pontiff. I'm just curious. I'm just curious. How long, remind me one more time, how long was the meeting with Cardinal Zen? Just remind me one more time. How long was the meeting between His Holiness Pope Francis and the Dubia cardinals? One more time, remind me, how long was that meeting? Was it double? Was it half of this meeting? Was it a quarter of this meeting? Was it a minute long? I mean, the answer is he didn't give them an audience whatsoever. Cardinal Zen begged for an audience so that he could bring to the awareness of His Holiness the plight of Catholics in China. Nothing. Wasn't given an audience. I mean, if you are in the circus, you get an audience. If you're a sports player, you get an audience. If you're one of the most pro-abortion Catholics on planet Earth, you get an audience. Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, you get an audience. But if you're the Dubia cardinals who are begging His Holiness to give them a chance to ask, why is there attack on the Christian Catholic faith? Why is there an attack on the traditional patrimony and piety of the church? Why is there an attack on the moral norms of the church? Why do we tolerate the synodality that is going down in Germany, that is just trying to rip apart the fabric of Holy Mother Church itself, let alone scandalize so many of the faithful? And they don't even get an audience, and Joe Biden gets double. Joe Biden gets double. The article goes on to say, the pair sat across from each other at a desk in the papal library, accompanied by a translator. They then proceeded to an exchange of gifts, and a broader meeting included the First Lady and top officials. Quote, Biden thanked His Holiness for his advocacy for the world's poor and those suffering from hunger, conflict, and persecution. The White House said he lauded, forgive me, I don't have my glasses. I need my glasses. He lauded Pope Francis's leadership in fighting the climate crisis, as well as his advocacy to ensure the pandemic ends for everyone through vaccine sharing and equitable global economic recovery, unquote. Does it have to? I'm just curious, too. Does it have to end, President Biden, does it have to end this pandemic through vaccine sharing? Is that the only method acceptable to you and the powers that be? Is it has to be through vaccine sharing? I mean, because natural immunity, in spite of all the science and reports that suggest natural immunity is stronger than the vaccine, but still, it has to win through vaccine sharing. It's the only acceptable outcome. I'm just curious if you could let me know. The article goes on to say, Biden takes pride in his Catholic faith, using it as a moral guidepost to shape his social and economic policies. He wears a rosary and attends Mass weekly. He wears a rosary, he attends Mass weekly. It says, after leaving the Vatican, Biden said that he had a wonderful meeting and that the Pope prayed for him and blessed his rosary beads. He said the prayer was about peace. No, the prayer is more than just peace, President Biden. I'm sorry, but the prayer is more. Our Lady of Fatima, 1917, said if you wanted to avert a world crisis, then you pray, you fast, you do the first Saturday devotion, and you pray the rosary daily. It is a weapon of mass conversion. Our goal is not just peace on this earth. Our Lord and Savior said he came not to bring peace but the sword. The goal on this earth is salvation of souls. It's eternity. It's not just living on this planet, spinning around the sun for another 80 rotations. No, I'm sorry. It's way more than that. And we have forgotten that. To pray the rosary, to go to Holy Mass, must therefore inform what we believe and how we live our life. It must be more than just going through the motions. It must inform what we believe and how we live it, and what we do while we have time on this planet. The article goes on to say, a dozen Swiss guards in their blue and gold striped uniforms and red-plumed halberds stood at attention in the San Damiaso courtyard as Biden and his wife Jill arrived. They were received by Monsignor Leonardo, who runs the papal household, and then greeted one by one the papal ushers, papal gentlemen who lined up in the courtyard. Quote, it's good to be back, unquote. Could you imagine? I mean, the famous words of Cardinal Zen, it's good to be back. The famous words of the Dubia Cardinals, it's good to be back. Yeah, right. I mean, they don't get to say these words. Only Joe Biden gets to say these words. It's good to be back, Biden said as he shook the hand of one of them. Quote, I'm Jill's husband, unquote. And that's a funny line. I like that. I'm Jill's husband. He told another before he was ushered into the frescoed apostolic palace and taken upstairs to the Pope's private library. According to the Vatican, Biden presented Francis with a woven chasuble, or liturgical vestment, made in 1930 by the famed papal tailor Gamarelli and used by the Pope's Jesuit order in the United States, where it was held in the archives of Holy Trinity Church, Biden's regular parish in Washington. The White House said it would make a donation to charity in the Pope's name. Biden also slipped what's known as a challenge coin into the Pope's palm during a handshake and hailed Francis as the most significant warrior for peace I've ever met. The most significant warrior for peace I have ever met. I'm wondering, how many times did we hear that, we have to smell like the sheep. We got to meet people where they're at. We got to go to the fringes to encounter them. The culture of discipleship, the culture of accompaniment, the culture of evangelization. Okay, great. Well, you had the most incredible opportunity, Your Holiness, to encounter, to engage, to disciple, to journey with President Biden, who is a professed Catholic, as is pointed out here, and is an ardent supporter of the murder of children in the womb, of the destruction of the fabric of society, that being marriage between a man and a woman, bound in the sacrament of matrimony. He supports the utter destruction of family and life in the womb, and you had an opportunity to encounter him. Benedict the 16th, for all of his weaknesses, for all of his lack of courage and strength, or whatever you'd like to say about Benedict XVI, when he met Obama, what did he do? He brought up the right to life. He brought up the dignity of the human person in the womb and gave him an encyclical on the topic. And yet you have an opportunity to meet a fellow Catholic, to have a conversation about something truly significant, the fact that his very salvation can hang upon it. And we are told that instead of you discussing that, and maybe you did, maybe behind closed doors, cameras are off, nobody's recording, you had that heart-to-heart. I want to believe that. Trust me, I do. I don't actually believe you said that, but I want to. I really do. Maybe you did, in which case, good on you. Praise be to God, that's your job. But what's being reported publicly, which is now a public scandal, is that President Biden says, Dear Holiness, you said he's a good Catholic and needs to keep receiving communion. Utterly scandalous if that's true. Utterly scandalous if that's true. The article goes on to say, the personalized coin depicts Biden's home state of Delaware and a reference to his late son, Beau's military unit, the 261st Theater Tactical Signal Brigade. Good grief, I'm having trouble reading here today. Biden told Francis that Beau, who died of brain cancer in 2015, would have wanted him to present the coin to the Pope. Quote, the tradition is, and I'm only kidding about this, but next time I see you, if you don't have it, you have to buy the drinks, unquote. Because you imagine telling the Pope, yeah, you got to have this on you, or you get to buy the drinks. I mean, good grief, I bet he'd do it too. I bet he would. I bet he'd buy those drinks. Biden said, referring to the coin, he added, quote, I'm the only Irishman you've ever met who's never had a drink, unquote. Francis laughed and responded, the Irish brought whiskey, unquote. Good grief. Substantial conversation out of the vicar of Christ on earth and the president of the United States. Francis, the article goes on to say, Biden, 78 years old, also relayed the story of American baseball player Satchel Paige, a black pitcher who played late into his 50s in a parable about aging. Quote, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you were, unquote. Biden quoted Paige as saying, quote, you're 65, I'm 60, unquote, Biden added, as Francis, 84 years old, pointed to his head and laughed. Francis presented Biden with a ceramic tile depicting the iconography of the pilgrim, as well as a collection of the Pope's main teaching documents, the Vatican said in the Vatican video, he could be heard asking Jill Biden to pray for me, unquote. The warm encounter stood in stark contrast to Donald Trump's 2017 meeting with Francis, with whom the former president had a prickly relationship. Photos from that 30-minute meeting showed a stone-faced Francis standing beside a grinning Trump. Biden's meeting also was longer than 52 minutes. Barack Obama spent with Francis in 2014. Well, golly gee whiz, Biden did get more votes than Obama, after all. So it seems to make sense, right? It's proportional. More votes, more time with Holy Father. Article goes on to say, Biden is visiting Rome and then Glasgow for back-to-back summits, first a gathering for leaders of the group of 20 leading and developing nations, and then Global Climate Conference. Biden and Francis have previously met 3 times, but Francis's encounter was their first since Biden became president. Biden also met separately Friday with G20 summit host Italian President Sergio, and I don't abuse the man's last name because I won't say it correctly, and Italian Prime Minister. And he ended the day with French President Emmanuel Macron, another Catholic, seeing a trend here, trying to smooth relations after the U.S. and U.K. decided to provide nuclear-powered submarines to Australia, scotching a lucrative French contract in the process. I won't read the rest of it. It's not much left, but either way, it bugs me to no end. It is scandalous. It is literally scandalous to see or hear that His Holiness Pope Francis, Vicar of Christ on earth, whether he wants to be or not, whether he likes the title or not, whether he agrees to it or not, it makes no difference. The man sitting in the chair of St. Peter is whether he wants it or not. To say to the most pro-abortion Catholic on the planet, public, ardent, hardcore supporter of murder in the womb, of God's innocent children, to say that he's a good Catholic and he should keep receiving communion is scandalous. It's literally public scandal. Public scandal requires public repentance and public reparation. Now, there's talk of schism on the horizon. Is schism on the horizon or is schism here? I mean, we are a church divided. We've been more divided now than I've ever known, for sure, but let alone, it could be debated as to whether or not the church was more divided in past centuries and past times of history or now. It's debatable. It really is debatable. We have much to pray for, much to fast for, much to do penance for. And on this Friday, where the story breaks, I mean, I want people to know about it. I wish I had a larger audience so the word would get out more. I'm sure people like Taylor Marshall and Church Militant, and I know David O'Gray has done some stuff already. I know others with much bigger outlets are going to talk about this, and I'm grateful that they are. Because this really is something that Catholics need to pray, fast, and do penance for. Acts of reparation. Because the scandal is so bad. It really is. It really is. I wish I had better news on a Friday to leave you with. Unfortunately, when I saw this, I felt like, and I was laying down for my afternoon nap, 3 a.m. comes early, and I said, golly gee whiz, I think I have to get up, and I think I have to go talk about this. I think I need to share this story as much as I possibly can and call people to prayer, fasting, and penance. We'll be talking more about this on Monday. Or actually, Monday's off. We're off on Monday on the Catholic Drive Time. We're going to be doing we have a recorded show on All Saints that we're playing for Monday because we're going to go to Holy Mass and observe the Holy Day of Obligation, even though we're in a diocese that has the dispensation still. Let that sink in. But Tuesday, we'll be back in the studio Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. Central, 7 Eastern, 2 hours Monday through Friday is our show, Catholic Drive Time. You can find more about us on our website, grnonline.com/CDT, keeping you informed and inspired, dealing with the scandals in the church and outside the church, from the Vatican to the White House and all points in between. We would be grateful if you would share us with a friend. All right. Praise be to God. God love you. God bless you. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. Really, it's I wish it was easier. I wish it was better. I wish it was less scandalous. But either way, we'll see you on Tuesday morning.